In this video, we're going to talk about how to believe in yourself. But before I go on, for you guys who are new to this channel, maybe you just found this video, you've watched a couple of videos, hit the subscribe button, because there's really a lot of cool shit that I talk about, that I rant about on my channel. So it would be a good choice that you would do right now to hit the subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, beside the button where it says subscribe, it's going to show you that you're subscribed, is a notification bell on the right side. Hit that notification bell so every time I'm ranting and rambling, you get a notification that I'm ranting and rambling, and maybe perhaps you want to tune your third eye into this frequency that I'm putting out and maybe listen to it and tune into the same frequency. So, how do you believe in yourself? Well, I want to read you guys a page about faith, okay? Just for the sake of reading it. I might not even relate to it much in this video, right? But it's sort of reading this page is what inspired me to make this video. Just a belief in faith. So, this is from Ram Dass's book, Be Here Now, right? AKA the Bible, the hippie Bible. So the page, if you have the book, you can tune into page 41, and it talks about faith, right? So there's a picture here of somebody in a prayer position, I guess, praying, and I'll read it out to you. Had ye but faith, you could move mountains, said Jesus. And that is literally true. The Bible is not a metaphor. It's not a story made up to teach us how to be moral beings. It's a straight message of how it is when man lives in the Spirit, and the Spirit is right inside. The way to get into the Spirit is not a lot of hocus pocus. It's a very simple methodical, mechanical set of steps. But they're only available to him who can hear. Let those who have ears hear. Teach not him who does not want to know. The whole game is based on faith. And he goes on in the next page to talk about how most of us have faith in the rational mind. That's a different video. I'm not going to get into that rabbit hole right now. Back to faith. Just wanted to read this, share it with you guys. So, believing in yourself. Believing, having faith in yourself. Okay, which self are we talking about here? So that we know where to direct our faith and our belief. We need to know what is the self, who is the self, and what am I trying to believe in? That's what we really are after in this discussion here. How to believe in yourself. Which self? Because if you examine yourself, you will see that actually who you are at every given moment, at every given point, in every given moment, let's say, is actually multi-layered. There are different versions of yourself that are harmoniously coexisting, simultaneously and harmoniously coexisting at the same time. Different parts of you, different layers. And they're sort of like parallel, different parts of yourself, but they're all harmoniously coexisting, and that's who you are, right? That's who you are. So, talk about this most superficial layer of the self, and that is the physical body. This is your physical animal body. And, well, do you need to believe in that? I mean, you have the 5 physical senses that are given to you in this body, right? And you can amazingly, you know, don't take this for granted, you can perceive your body, you can perceive your hands, you can perceive your face, I mean, it's incredible. It really is. And I don't think most people need to believe in that, because in fact that's probably a lot of where the limitation is, because most people identify with their body. They think all they are is their body. Now, some people need to believe that they have a good looking body, you know, a body that is attractive, and this is not your physical identity, but this is the identity above it, let's say, or in a different channel, and that's your psychological identity, because you're physical, you can move your body through space, you're a physical being, that's your physical self. Right now I can say this is who I am, right? Even though it's temporary and even though it's not who I ultimately am, but in this present moment, I am in the body. Then, on a different channel, if you tune in, there's your psychological identity. And I think when people refer to believing in themselves, they're talking about their psychological identity, their story, their place in the world. And I think that's where most people need to believe. That's when most people... So, your psychological identity, your storyline could be, I need to believe that I have a good-looking body, right? So that's not your physical identity, that's a psychological identity. I need to believe that I have a good-looking body. I need to believe that I'm good enough. I need to believe that I've accomplished things in the world. I need to believe that my parents think I'm a good boy or I'm a good girl. That's where I think most of us are stuck, actually, because we identify with our physical body and our psychological storyline and our psychological identity. And then if you shift the channel a little bit more, you get your spirit, you get your soul. Right? And that's a much more expansive state of identification of self. And that's what they call in Hinduism the Atman. Right? This is the love, the awareness, the loving awareness. And if you identify more and more with that, then you're just that much more free as a being. Right? And that you don't really need to believe in. Okay? That self, that identity, you don't really need to believe in, and I think there's a change in light in here, so let me just turn on these lights, and there we go, okay, because there was a sunlight outside, but I guess there's clouds now, so anyway, sorry for this disruption. I'm trying to keep the structural integrity of the video intact as much as I can. So, if you identify more and more with your spirit, if you identify more and more like that thing that I just read you guys from the page, right? If woman lives more and more in spirit, then the faith and the belief don't even really need to be there anymore, because you are it. If you're living more and more primarily from your soul, from your spirit, from the awareness, from the Atman, then there's nothing to believe in, because you are it. You are it, and faith in this case does not need to exist. So as long as you need to believe in yourself, you're primarily referring to the psychological identity of you. This is the psychological storyline. In other words, your ego, basically. Your storyline, your place in the world. That's what you're trying to believe in. And you've got to make peace with that, right? Before moving on to the next level of this game, which is primary identification with the soul, primary identification with the Atman. There's that step where you need to sort of figure out the storyline, that who you are, they call the Dharma, again in Eastern traditions, in Buddhism and Hinduism, your Dharma in the world. And if you figure out what your Dharma is in the world, what your path is, what you're here to do in this life, in this incarnation, then again, you don't really need to believe in that anymore, because you're living out your Dharma, you're living out who you are moment to moment. And this is why it's very important to find meaning and purpose in your life. If you want to resolve this issue of not believing in yourself, find meaning, find purpose. I don't think we need this light anymore. Find meaning, find purpose in your life, and let that guide you. Let that determine your storyline in this movie that is your life. Because if you look at your life is a movie. It's some kind of a dream, some kind of a movie. And you get to play out this movie, play out this character that you're in, right? So that's why it's very important to meditate on this. That's why finding your life purpose, let's say, aligning yourself with your life purpose, with your mission, is very, very critical. It's very, very crucial, because it takes care of the your psychological need as a psychological being, right? Because yes, you are not your psychological identity. Yes, you're not your physical body. I get that. I understand it, okay? I'm not neither of these things. I am the soul. I am the Atman. I am the spirit. However, if we're talking about being in the present moment and living in the present moment, we're talking about I am my body right now, and guess what? I am my psychological identity as well. For the time being, yeah, it's always changing anyway, right? Like it's always changing. Who I thought Saeed was 3 years ago, who I thought Saeed was last week, is not the same as now, and will not be the same as by the time I upload this video. It will be a slightly different psychological identity, who I think Saeed is, right? It's constantly changing. So yeah, it's ultimately not who I am. But we're talking about being in the present moment. We're talking about, okay, I find myself in this human thing. And this human thing has a physical body and thinks, and has this ego structure, and has these psychological things, and is driven psychologically. And I need to make peace with that. I need, in fact, what if I am in this human thing, and if everything is divine and everything is perfect, and if this human thing that I'm in thinks, then that means it has this psychology, then that means I'm supposed to work with it as opposed to work against it. So it's good to have a mission. It's good to have this awareness that this is my purpose in life. This is my mission in life. In this lifetime, whether you believe in other things or whatever, but at least in this life, having a sense of guidance. Because this story that you tell yourself you are is your identity, and it kind of gives you joy. It gives you happiness. Like it gives you, it's not a permanent type of happiness, but it gives you peace of mind. It allows, see, like I'm gonna speak from personal experience, right? When I am fully engaged in my work on this channel, this work that I'm doing with my philosophy, with consciousness, and sharing my ideas and sharing my theories and sharing my thoughts and my findings and my experiences, I feel so aligned, so in flow, that I don't really need to think, hey Saeed, are you doing what you're supposed to do? Who is Saeed? Like, what is Saeed supposed to do? You know, I'm not really thinking about it all that much, because I am being it, I am living it moment to moment. I feel like making a video, I'll get up and I'll make a video. I feel like writing a book, I'll get up and I'll write a book like I did, you know? So really, I'm not thinking all that much like, who is Saeed? What is Saeed doing? What is the, you know, is Saeed good enough? Is Saeed this? Is Saeed that? I'm not thinking about it all that much. Really, I'm not thinking about it all that much, because, you know, I'm just being whatever Saeed is in the moment. I'm letting the force flow, I'm letting the Tao flow through this creation of the Tao called human being, called Saeed. You know, it's a psychological identity called Saeed. I have a name on a passport, and people call me Saeed, my parents call me Saeed, you guys call me Saeed, right? And yes, we can sit down here all day long and say, but that's not really who you are, and I'll tell you, absolutely, I agree. But you know, I know myself as Saeed, you know me as Saeed, and these are all, I guess, what nature evolved. Nature evolved these human beings with these psychological identities, with these complex brains, and so we sort of use this language and these words and these symbols and these storylines, and they shape our world. They shape our world. Right now, the way we're communicating is through words. It's not physical, but they shape everything around us. Is if you look at it, is a thought manifested in form. So that's, I get my opinion on believing in yourself. It's just find what your dharma is in this lifetime. Find what your mission is. Find what your purpose is. Is your purpose to make music? You know, is your purpose to create these videos, which I definitely feel strongly with. I feel like part of my mission, part of my dharma, part of my existence, this thing here, this physical, psychological thing called human being, that is called Saeed psychologically, but really physically it's just a body that looks a certain way. I definitely feel like part of what I'm here to do is to speak in these videos and to put these ideas and these thoughts and these experiences into words, publish them out into the public domain, and I feel pretty good about it. I really feel really nice and good, and I don't necessarily feel like I need to believe in myself. You know, I don't really see why that is even necessary in the first place if I'm just being what the fuck is coming up in me. If I'm allowing whatever is coming up in me to manifest here, you know, then I don't see where the belief is needed, and belief in this case is not necessary. If you're being then you don't need to believe. But if you're living too much in your head and you're thinking too much, then that's when you need to believe. So really, like, my conclusion, because I make these videos very much unscripted and I let the lesson reveal itself through these words. The lesson is, belief is actually unnecessary. And if you spend all this time and effort and energy trying to believe in yourself, you're just going to be reinforcing this cycle of being too up in your head, thinking too much, plotting too much, making too much interpretation, too much meaning, too much this, too much that. If you try to believe in yourself, then you are reinforcing an already existing problem, which is, I am too much in my rational mind, I'm too much in my head, I'm thinking too much, I'm interpreting too many things and giving meaning to so many unnecessary things, and yeah, that's when you need to believe. So belief is unnecessary. Belief is unnecessary. In fact, if you believe will end up imprisoning you in many ways. And when I'm talking about belief, I'm talking specifically about like yourself, who you are. Because ultimately, where you want to be is you want to be primarily identifying with your spirit, primarily identifying with your soul. Okay, and if that's your primary identity, then everything else seems like are just roles that I'm doing. Like I'm just happen to be in this human body, and I happen to be a male, and I happen to be this, and I happen to be that, and I happen to have a charismatic voice, a charismatic presence, so there you go. It's part of my dharma to be a speaker. I'm just speaking about myself in this case, right? Same thing for you. But hey, I'm not that. I'm not this Saeed. I'm not this body. I'm not, you know, I'm not that. Because really, like, when I'm like an old man, you know, when I'm like 100 years old or something, if I make it up to 100, and I have like no hair or maybe like gray hair, and like, you know, of course, my body's not gonna look like what it looks now, which looks pretty good. Like my body looks very phenomenal right now. But if I'm identifying with it right now, if that's my primary identity, then am I still the same? Like when I'm 100 years old? That's gonna fucking shoot my self-confidence down, I'll tell you that. When I look at my wrinkly, old, disgusting, stinky body at age 100 and be like, I thought I was these muscles, I thought I was these biceps, I thought I was this big pecs, but I'm not it anymore. And that's gonna shoot my self-confidence down. That's gonna, again, see, now I'm living in my head. Now I need to make believe. I need to believe in something else, in another story. Oh, but I'm 100 years old and I did good to the world and I did this and I did that. See, always living in my head. I don't want to live in my head. I do not want to live in my head. Most people are prisoners of their mind and they don't know that they're in prison. So then you primarily identify with the soul. You primarily identify with the spirit. You primarily identify with the Atman, the being, right? And then all these other identities are secondary to you. And if you can do that, I can tell you this for certainty, you will not really need to believe in yourself anymore. Because once you know the being that you are, the magnificent being that has created all of this, that has created and simulated this game, that is playing this game, it's the one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively in these small, unique, subjective manifestations. Once you really get in touch with that and you start to live primarily in that space, in that channel, in that plane of existence, then everything else, all the stories of who you think you are, all these secondary identities will most likely make you smile and laugh, because you know that you're an actor on a stage and you play the act, you get on the stage and you play the role, you put on the mask, just so as long as you know, deep down, inside, you get this laugh, you keep this big laugh, this cosmic giggle, knowing that I'm just an actor who's making believe that I am this role, but I'm really not this role, but I'll make believe that I am this role. And you get on with it with a smirk on your face, okay? So, probably this video did not help you whatsoever, because I didn't really even tell you what to do to believe in yourself, because I have different ideas about the self. See, I have like an old video that is like maybe 3 years old or 2 years old on my, from way when I started YouTubing, and it's called How to Believe in Yourself. And if you go watch it, and then try and find the link for it, I probably say completely different things in that video. Maybe even more practical, to be honest, because my identity of who I am was different at the time, right? So I think I talk about it in how to build a wall around you so other people, you know, believe in you or whatever. And yeah, that's probably actually even more practical. I didn't give you anything practical here because the identity of the self for me changed, and I find that the whole thing of believing in yourself is rather unnecessary and unneeded if you are identified primarily with a part of you that is eternal. So that's where I'll finish off this rant. God bless you all, guys. Please leave me in the comments telling me what you think of this video. Tell me what you think about believing in yourself. Okay, share it with the world. This is a sharing platform. YouTube is a sharing platform. I just think of something and I share it with you guys. So now when you think of something, share it with us in the comments. I will read every single comment and I will reply, okay? So make sure to check out my free book, 5 Powerful Habits to Dominate Life in All Areas. The book is very helpful. It's like 19 pages. I don't even know why I call it a book. It's like a mini report, 19 pages for free. Download it, read it. It'll help you out tremendously with believing in yourself, but in just every aspect of life. And that's it, guys. I love you. I love every single one of you. Make sure you hit that notification bell that I told you about earlier beside the subscribe button so you can hear me ranting and rambling unnecessarily and with absolutely no conclusion and absolutely nothing out of it at the end of the day, right? Because this is all for entertainment anyway. So, it is what it is. And that's it. Make sure to subscribe, because if you don't, you already know you're going to sleep with the fishes.